When the Toyota Hilux GR Sport first came out, I had high hopes that it will be heavily modified straight out from the factory, ready to take the fight to the Ford Ranger Raptor. Well guys, I was a bit underwhelmed by the mods done to the Hilux GR Sport, and apparently the owner of this truck also was. You see, what we have here is what the Toyota Hilux GR Sport could have looked like straight out from the factory, and in today's video, we get to review it and drive it. Let's do this. Hello guys, I'm Reagan and welcome back to another truck review. If you're new to my channel, I want you to click that subscribe button for your regular dose of Philippine automotive content. If you're my subscriber already, well, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. But first, click that like button. Also, special thanks to the owner of this badass Toyota Hilux GR Sport for lending me his truck to do this review. Now, before we begin the actual video, I'd like to extend a special shout out to the two friends of the owner of this Hilux GR Sport, Attorney John and Attorney Calvin. You know who you are, boys. So what we have here is what the Toyota Hilux GR Sport could have looked like if we are all willing to shell out over 2,700,000 Philippine pesos for it. You see, the stock Hilux GR Sport has a retail price of 2,005,000 Philippine pesos, while this beauty right here has a combined total of aftermarket goodies that would cost over 700,000 Philippine pesos. Now, credit goes to the shop Automotive for creating this beautiful build. So, what exactly did the owner add to his Hilux GR Sport to create this beast right here? Well guys, let's dive in and find out. So essentially, what we have here is a full JAOS setup. Now, I like that the owner went with a clean and classy build, just the way I like it. Now, this Hilux GR Sport is not really too over the top because it only gets a pair of JAOS fog lights here as well as a JAOS front skid plate, which just adds a little bit more aggression and utility to the Hilux GR Sport. Here on the side, this Hilux GR Sport gets some notable upgrades that elevates its street cred. As in, it literally elevates it because it now has a 2.5-inch lift courtesy of a full JAOS suspension setup. Now, that effectively takes the ground clearance up to 343 millimeters and its flood weighting depth to 764 millimeters. Now, the owner also decided to remove the stepboard here in favor of this all-metal JAOS skid bars, and the upper control arms are now a set of hard race units. Now, of course, this build will not be complete without the proper set of wheels and tires, and that's exactly what we have here. Now, these wheels are bronze Volk Racing TE37s, and they are shod in beefy Toyo Open Country all-terrain tires. Heck, even the lug nuts of this thing are race engineering lightweight lug nuts. Now, another notable upgrade here, guys, are the rear braking system. You see, the stock Hilux GR Sport comes with rear drum brakes, which doesn't really float the owner's boat. So he decided to install a set of rear disc brakes on his Hilux GR Sport. Now, Toyota, I do hope that you take note of that, because to install a set of drum brakes on what is supposedly your sporty lifestyle off-roading pickup truck, yeah, it's also a no-go for me. Now, to complete the look of this Hilux GR Sport, we also have a set of JAOS mud flaps here to ensure that not too much mud will smear this gorgeous white paint. Now, the rear gets some subtle upgrades here, which would appeal to classic Hilux lovers out there. First, the owner removed the plastic sports bar here in favor of this truck bed cover. Second, he added this Toyota decal here in the center of the liftgate because the newer Hilux GR Sport no longer gets that. Third, the decals here at the back, the rest of the decals are all blacked out, which go well with this white paint job. Now finally, the owner also added this pair of exhaust tips right here on the side of the truck, which is courtesy of HKS, because this is an HKS full exhaust system. Now I'm pretty sure most of you would want to hear what this exhaust sounds like, so here's a sound bite. Oh boy guys, now that is yummy. Now if you're expecting to see a real hot rod engine under this hood, well guys, sorry to disappoint. Not that the stock 2.8-liter 4-cylinder turbo diesel is a disappointment, no siree. This stock motor still puts out over 200 horsepower and 500 newton meters of torque, so yeah, it's really no slouch. Well, the thing is, the owner did add a Torqit performance chip, so yeah, it should squeeze out a little bit more power from this turbo diesel engine. Since most of the modifications to this Hilux GR Sport were done outside, well, the cabin remains largely stock. Not that the stock cabin of the Hilux GR Sport is bad in any way, because this is actually a pretty decent and sporty looking cabin. Oh, we get our leather wrap steering wheel here with the GR badging. We got the paddle shifters right there. And we also have this leather and Alcantara bucket GR Sport race seats here, sports seats. And of course, let's not forget the GR Sport engine push start button, which adds another 5 horsepower to this Hilux GR Sport. Just kidding, guys. Anyway, speaking of horsepower, let's take this Hilux GR Sport out for a drive around the city to see how it performs on the road. Alright guys, we are now driving this modified Toyota Hilux GR Sport, and a bit of disclaimer guys, this is actually my first time to drive a Toyota Hilux. You see, I've done a bunch of Hilux reviews in the past in my channel, but unfortunately these are just showroom feature videos because Toyota Motor Philippines hasn't really engaged me yet to test drive and review an actual stock Toyota Hilux. So yes, this is my very first time to drive a Hilux guys. So yeah, and it's a modified one at that. Now as much as I'd want to take this out on an off-road trail or an off-road track to really test out that JAOS suspension, well unfortunately, I don't really have clearance from the owner to do that. So I'm just sticking to city roads guys, which this Hilux will spend like over 90% of its time in. Now, most people say that the Toyota Hilux has a pretty harsh suspension, at least as stock Hiluxes go. Is that even a word? Hiluxes. Anyway, the thing is, this one is heavily modified in the suspension department, and I have to say to you guys that no, this Hilux, this particular Hilux, has a pretty decent suspension. See, we're going through an uneven cement road here, guys, and yeah, it's not harsh. It is not stiff here inside. You know, the ride is really good, and I guess we'll have to give credit to the JAOS suspension there, and also to those beefy Toyo Open Country all-terrain tires. See, I'm not jumping around here. Now, granted, it's not as smooth as, let's say, a crossover. But guys, this is a mean-looking, badass pickup truck. And I expect that the ride would also tell me that I am driving a pickup truck. And yes, it does, but at the same time, it will not give me body aches if I drive this, let's say on a long drive. I really love the JAOS suspension on this thing. In fact, I would even go as far as saying that this feels as smooth as, let's see, the Ranger Raptor. I think this is actually smoother than the Ford Ranger Raptor. So that shows you guys the potential that a stock Hilux can be. Now guys, considering that we are riding on Toyo Open Country all-terrain tires here, and these are beefy tires, I'm quite surprised at the steering feel of this modified Hilux GR Sport. It's pretty similar to that of a stock Hilux. Now granted guys, I haven't really driven a stock Hilux in the past guys, but I did drive my brother's and my mother's Toyota Fortuners. So since both the Hilux and the Fortuner ride on the same platform anyway, and most likely, yeah, Toyota tuned the steering feel of the Fortuner and the Hilux in the same way, well, I can tell you that even with these beefy all-terrain tires, this Hilux feels like my brother's Toyota Fortuner in terms of steering feel. And I am quite surprised with that. And that probably, yeah, that tells me that maybe the stock Hilux has a lighter steering feel than a Toyota Fortuner. Maybe. I mean, I really couldn't tell, guys, until I get to drive a stock Hilux GR Sport. Now, as for the power of this thing, as I mentioned, this is a stock engine, although we do have that Torqit performance chip installed. And in terms of power and drive feel, well, you've got a good amount of torque, as you'd expect from a diesel pickup truck that has 500 Newton meters on tap. Now, as for the engine noise, well, the diesel engine noise coming into the cabin, it's also pretty much what I'd expect from a Japanese mid-size pickup truck. That just means it's on the noisy side, guys. It is on the noisy side, see? Listen to that. Yeah, it is noisy, it is manly, it is masculine. Yep. And it's something that you'd expect from such a brusco pickup truck. Overall, guys, well, as I said, this is my very first time to drive a Hilux GR Sport, and I get to drive a modified one at that. So I'd like to give a special thanks to the owner of this mid-size pickup truck for giving me this awesome opportunity. Now, this has been modified to drive so much smoother and more comfortable than a stock Hilux pickup truck. Now, I could say that because everybody who watches my videos always comments that a stock Hilux has a stiff and harsh ride. But that is not my experience when it comes to this modified Hilux GR Sport. Okay guys, so what this modified Hilux GR Sport just did for me was to ruin the entire stock Hilux driving experience. You see, it has just set such a high benchmark such that if ever I get a chance to drive a stock Hilux GR Sport in the future, well, the experience will never be the same. It's like dining at the Prime Steakhouse in Las Vegas, where you order that bone-in prime ribeye steak. See, after having a taste of that luscious steak, no other steak will ever measure up. Now that, my friends, is exactly what happened to me right here. See, having a taste of this modified beast, I'll never look at a stock Hilux GR Sport the same way again. Thanks for watching.